President Donald Trump has been ramping up pressure on Venezuela's leader, President Nicolas Maduro. In a sharp escalation of Washington's campaign, on 16 December, the US president ordered a naval blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela, less than a week after US forces seized a sanctioned tanker off the country's coast. US warships have been deployed within striking distance of the South American country, and dozens of people have been killed in attacks on boats alleged to have been carrying drugs. Who is Nicolas Maduro? Nicolas Maduro rose to prominence under the leadership of left-wing President Hugo Chavez and his United Socialist Party of Venezuela, PSUV. Maduro, a former bus driver and union leader, succeeded Chavez and has been president since 2013. During the 26 years that Chavez and Maduro have been in power, their party has gained control of key institutions including the National Assembly, much of the judiciary, and the Electoral Council. In 2024, Maduro was declared winner of the presidential election, even though voting tallies collected by the opposition suggested that its candidate, Edmundo Gonzalez, had won by a landslide. Gonzalez had replaced the main opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, on the ballot after she was barred from running for office. She was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in October for her struggle to achieve a just and peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy. Machado defied a travel ban and made her way to Oslo in December to collect the award after months in hiding. She said that she planned to return to Venezuela, a move which would put her at risk of arrest by the Venezuelan authorities, who have declared her a fugitive. Why is Trump focusing on Venezuela? Trump blames Maduro for the arrival of hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan migrants in the U.S. They are among close to 8 million Venezuelans estimated to have fled the country's economic crisis and repression since 2013. Without providing evidence, Trump has accused Maduro of emptying his prisons and insane asylums and forcing its inmates to migrate to the U.S. Trump has also focused on fighting the influx of drugs, especially fentanyl and cocaine, into the U.S. He has designated two Venezuelan criminal groups, Tren de Aragua and Cartel de los Soles, as foreign terrorist organizations, FTOs, and has alleged that the latter is led by Maduro himself. Trump's administration has also doubled the reward for information leading to the president's capture. Maduro has vehemently denied being a cartel leader and has accused the U.S. of using its war on drugs as an excuse to try to depose him and get its hands on Venezuela's vast oil reserves. Analysts have pointed out that Cartel de los Soles is not a hierarchical group, but a term used to describe corrupt officials who have allowed cocaine to transit through Venezuela. In a post on his Truth social media platform, the U.S. president accused the Maduro government of using stolen oil to finance themselves, drug terrorism, human trafficking, murder, and kidnapping. He said that the Maduro government itself had also been designated an FTO. The Venezuelan government called Trump's post a grotesque threat and accused the U.S. president of intending to steal the country's wealth. Why has the U.S. sent warships to the Caribbean? The U.S. has deployed 15,000 troops and a range of aircraft carriers, guided missile destroyers, and amphibious assault ships to the Caribbean. The stated aim of the deployment, the largest to the region since the U.S. invaded Panama in 1989, is to stop the flow of fentanyl and cocaine to the U.S. Among the ships is the USS Gerald Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier. U.S. helicopters reportedly took off from it before U.S. forces seized an oil tanker off Venezuela on 10th of December. The U.S. said the tanker had been used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. Venezuela described the action as an act of international piracy. Is Venezuela flooding the U.S. with drugs? Counter-narcotic experts say that Venezuela is a relatively minor player in global drug trafficking, acting as a transit country through which drugs produced elsewhere are smuggled. Its neighbor, Colombia, is the world's largest producer of cocaine, but most of it is thought to enter the U.S. by other routes, not via Venezuela. According to a U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, report from 2020, almost 3/4 of the cocaine reaching the U.S. is estimated to be trafficked via the Pacific, with just a small percentage coming via fast boats in the Caribbean. While most of the early strikes the U.S. has carried out were in the Caribbean, More recent ones have focused on the Pacific. In September, Trump told U.S. military leaders that the boats targeted are stacked up with bags of white powder that's mostly fentanyl and other drugs, too. Fentanyl is a synthetic drug which is 50 times more potent than heroin and has become the main drug responsible for opioid overdose deaths in the U.S. On 15 December, Trump signed an executive order designating fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, arguing that it was closer to a chemical weapon than a narcotic. However, fentanyl is produced mainly in Mexico and reaches the U.S. almost exclusively via land through its southern border. Venezuela is not mentioned as a country of origin for fentanyl smuggled into the U.S. in the DEA's 2025 National Drug Threat Assessment. How much oil does Venezuela export, and who buys it? Oil is the Maduro government's main source of foreign revenue, with profits from the sector financing more than half of the government's budget. It currently exports about 900,000 barrels per day. China is by far its biggest buyer. However, although a U.S. assessment suggests Venezuela has the world's largest proven crude oil reserves, it says that it does relatively little with them. Venezuela produced only 0.8% of global crude oil in 2023, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, EIA, due to technical and budgetary challenges. After announcing that the tanker had been seized, Trump told reporters, "I assume we're going to keep the oil." The U.S. has previously denied Venezuela's allegations that moves against Maduro's government were an attempt to secure access to the country's untapped reserves.